topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, this is the last Monday of the month. Can you believe August is almost gone? Our first guest is probably one of the, I love her. And it's really strange that things that happen usually the day before or the morning of her show that really makes me appreciate her. Yesterday, I was online and they showed athletes who have passed away. And I can't believe there were so many athletes that passed away in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s. And I wonder if they planned from whether it was a will or anything to protect themselves, their family. And I always think about our first guest, our expert, is attorney Debbie Baker, who has such a heart for being a estate planning attorney. We love when she comes on. She actually brightens our day up. Good morning, attorney.
Okay, good morning, host.
Good boy. I told you she always has us laughing. But
Good.
Debbie, isn't it strange how I think about you and I see people who've passed away and I wonder, did they have a plan? And it's just amazing. I don't think about anything else but Debbie Baker.
Wow. Well, I'm honored by the fact that you think about me. I think the same thing when I read articles about. Actually, I think about it more when I talk to people who tell me, well, we have everything together. And then I ask them this question and I ask them this question and I ask them this question. And they go, I don't think so. Or no, I went, well, so here's a story I've been telling people recently. And I don't know if I've ever told it on these things, but I know every once in a while you want to know like where I came from and stuff like that, other than, walking uphill both ways in the snow and all that stuff. But years and years ago, in the world of my being an executive coach, which we have spoken about occasionally.
Yes.
I knew people who were very, very active in the life insurance business. And life insurance has a designation that people can earn called the $1 Million Roundtable. And one of their members told the story once of being on a board of directors. And everybody knew each other socially, but they never really asked each other. They never really talked about what they did as a profession outside the board. And one of their board members died and had no insurance, had no life insurance, left a wife and 2 young children. And the board raised enough money to pay for a funeral, as I remember. But that guy, I think he was pretty new in the industry then, but he promised himself he would never leave a conversation without at least asking people if they were protected. Not to work with him, but just if they were protected. So every time I ask somebody I don't know, like I just met you, like you and Sophia and I are waiting on a line to get movie tickets, something will come up and you'll say, I say, just so, do you guys have your plan in place? And you'll go, yeah, my brother made me do it last week. And Sophia will say, no, and whatever. And I've just made a promise that I don't leave a conversation without asking. And I really don't care if people work with me. I just care that they get it done. For the reason that you have your dread or your thinking when you see those athletes dying. So I came from a position of service I've always been dedicated to being of service. Coaching has given me has facilitated my capacity for compassion when I'm talking for people. It hasn't cut back on my being able to say to you, now as a coach, I could tell you, Steve, you're being an idiot. As a lawyer, I might say to you, Steve, you really think you want to do that? There's a little more tact involved with being a lawyer, but it's that commitment about this is essential for you to do to protect your family, and you're putting your family at risk by not doing it. So, yeah. So I think about it.
Debbie, I got to tell you that your story. We've been doing this for 2 years now, and I got to tell you, I still enjoy hearing your story because there's so many people out there, including my Sophia, who wish they would have done something, and now they don't feel like they can because they're later on in life.
Oh, well, let me tell you, don't ever tell me you did it. Yeah, don't ever tell me you're too old to do something. Because it's not true. And the thing is that anything we want to do, anything, we will find a way to do. So if you're out there saying, whatever it is, it could be a one-time thing like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. It could be line dance. It could be anything. If you want to do it, you will find a way. And what's interesting is once you choose to do it, everything else falls in place. So I've told you, law school was a walk of faith. My whole practice was a walk of faith and is a walk of faith. And when God told me to go to law school, like when I finally got it, it just fell into place. Choices were made, decisions were made, things showed up, things dropped off. It just falls into place. There is a student debt crisis in this country. There's no doubt about it. I'm part of that, so to speak. But I believe since I was 19, if you want to go to school and you don't have the money, then borrow it and go to school. You'll figure out the money. I mean, don't borrow with the idea that you won't have to pay it back, but borrow with the idea that you're going to get something out of it. So, but yeah, so, people occasionally will say to me, I'm too old to do that. And I just look at them. Like they're crazy. I said, what are you talking about? Especially people who've known me. Like, how old was I when I started law school? Well, you were 39. I know I was 39 and 39 when I graduated. I'm still 39. But really, how old was I? And they go, you were whatever. And I said, listen, if you want to do it, there's a way. And if you don't want to do it, stop feeling guilty about it. Just say you're not going to do it. And all those people who tell you, well, you always said you were going to do this, just say, you know what? I'm not doing it. So don't ever ask me again. So, we can do anything. If we put our mind to it, short of a true physical or mental impairment, children to walk regardless. If they have the capacity to walk, they will learn to walk. They don't care how many times they fall down. They don't care how many times they fail. They don't care. They will learn to walk. And if adults had to learn to walk, we'd never get past crawling because we'd be embarrassed and afraid and whatever. So, yeah, we can do anything we want to do.
We had talked before the show, the story of the green box.
The story of the green box. Yeah, the story of the green box. So the green box is whatever you want. It could be a green box. It could be a purple box. It could be a red box. It could be, who knows? It could be a file folder. It's the idea of you have one place in your home where all the things that somebody who loves you will need to find when you get hurt or you become incapacitated, that you die, is all in one place and they know where it is. So, and I still haven't totally done that. I'm further along than I was a while ago, and I still haven't done that because it takes time and it takes intention and it takes being willing to confront, oh my gosh, I have no idea where the mortgage to my home is, or I have no idea where the deed to my property is, or I have, whatever. Or, but the people who have it find there's so much peace for them and their loved ones because they just say, if you want to find something, it's in the box. It's in the green box. And the green box is locked up in my closet or it's in my home safe or whatever it is. And then it's easy. I mean, then dealing with that stuff is never easy. It's easier because you're not freaking out searching somebody's house for something they told you they had and now you can't find it. So that's the idea of the green box.
So could my green box be the Lord?
Only if he files paper that Sophia can access after you die. Now he answers he'll answer all your prayers, but I'm not sure he's going to PDF back that document to Sophia.
Well, I know he brings me peace, that's for sure. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it is so important that people have a plan. And I'm going to tell you something, and I'm debating in my head if I should or not, but I'm going to, because I think there's so many people out there listening to the show who don't have a plan. I don't know if you read about the estate planning attorney here in South Florida.
No, I don't think so anyway.
Do you know he was my expert for 8 years?
Mm-mm.
And he was, I mean, we were so close. And as a favor, since you know the story, when his son finished law school, I said, come on, we'll talk about, I'll help you to get started, which I did, because his son was a personal injury attorney. And I always wonder, just so people know, maybe don't know the story, his son actually murdered him. And it was sad. And I wonder, because he was young, did he have a plan?
The attorney?
Yes.
The attorney? So, okay. So here's do you have a direct question? Because I'm thinking something, but do you have a direct question?
My question is actually, here he was, an estate planning attorney like you are,
Mm-hmm.
and he's advising people, but he was very young. I hope he had a plan.
Okay. Well, you say very young. How old is very young?
46.
Okay, he was very young. Okay, so there's no way to know. He may have done one. When so the son was also an attorney. He was a personal injury attorney.
Yes, just became an attorney.
So he might have done a plan when his son was born, because oftentimes people will do something when they first have their children, and then they never look at it again. So if there's anybody listening or watching who says, well, I have a plan and I did it when my children were born, it's just taking 2 minutes to say, well, how old are your children now? And oftentimes children have passed the age of alleged adulthood. They've passed the age of 18, right? So then parents get concerned about, well, I need to do them over because they're not minors anymore. Well, that's not necessarily true. That just becomes irrelevant. So if your plan appointed guardians for your minor children and they're no longer minors, then that's just moot. It's like it doesn't matter. It has no relevance. The thing that becomes relevant for a plan that's older, and I recommend absolutely you look at your paperwork every 3 to 5 years. And when I was telling somebody recently, I said, so here's the thing. Things happen. In Florida, the person you name to represent you in your will for Florida must be a Florida resident or be a blood relative. Okay. So the blood relative can live anywhere in the world. They could be, on the other side of the international date line, whatever. But if they're a blood relative, it's okay. If you've appointed somebody who lives next door when your children were young and you've never looked at your paperwork, and that person has moved to the first city north of the Florida-Georgia border in Georgia, they can no longer be your personal representative.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so people don't know that, nor should they know that, but it's something to look at.
Yes.
which is why you would look at your paperwork. The other thing is, with young children, you may have appointed those same people to be the temporary guardians of your children, and they moved to Georgia. Well, that's not 20 minutes away, because temporary guardians, like just a holding place, safe holding place for the kids, should be 20 minutes to half an hour away. The other thing that I've seen, which again, I wouldn't have thought of, was brought to my attention by a friend who did her documents like 10 or 12 years ago and appointed a friend of hers to be the successor trustee of her trust. Well, now she's 12 years older and he's 12 years older, and he was already older than her. And she says, oh my gosh, he's not going to be able to do that. His health isn't good enough.
Right.
I mean, right? He's got other things going on in his life. So the thing about working with somebody, an attorney that you trust, is they'll check in with you once in a while to see if anything's changed. And you can call them anytime and say, Susan just moved to Georgia. I just redid a trust where they had appointed a neighbor to be their successor trustee, perfectly legitimate. They seem to have a falling out with the neighbor, no big deal. So it's a married couple, and one of the partners appointed his niece, which is legitimate regardless. While the other partner wanted to also appoint his niece, he can't do it for his will. Anything else, but not for his will. So he had to find another friend, and he wouldn't have known that. And if he tried to do it by himself, without an attorney who knew, he would have been potentially somebody who was trying to help him would have had to go through hoops to get the right, versus now we've got it correct. But that's why you would look. So the 48-year-old may well have done a plan when his child was born and may never have looked at it again. And regardless of how he passed, there might be things in there that would make it very difficult for the family to execute. So you want to have a plan. I spoke to somebody yesterday. Go ahead.
It's important that people might have a plan but haven't looked at it in a long time, that they contact you to look and see if anything needs to be changed.
A lot of people have relationships with their attorneys, or they still know their attorneys. It would be call the people who created the documents. I had somebody call me recently who said, I want you to do this for me. I said, well, do you still talk to the attorney who did the documents? And they said, yes, but we really weren't satisfied with them. I said, okay. But if they're satisfied with them, I said, call their office. They have your original documents. It's more that you talk to somebody who's familiar either with the law in general or with your situation, and just ask, is there anything here I need to change? Yes, over the weekend, Saturday, we signed documents for a client who's a friend. He had a stroke. His wife, not knowing how he's going to recover, his wife needed to take his name out as first in all her documents and put in one of her sons. So she didn't have to, but it's going to be easier for her if need be. And we needed to modify some of his documents as well. So it's just important that you don't. It's like strategic plans. People do strategic plans, they put them on a shelf and never look at them. Your estate planning document should be a living document. You should look at it every once in a while if it's still breathing good air. If it's not breathing good air, you need to get it revised.
I'm going to tell you something, because we've been doing this for several years now. One of the things I've learned about you is you really walk the walk. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. When you are an estate planning attorney working with relatives, you've really got to have a special heart for this. There's a lot of different areas of law you can go into, but estate planning, you really have to have a heart for this. And I don't know if you realize this, and you are, you're in this to make a living, but I got to tell you, you have shared with us so many times how you've helped people. Just, someone called you up and there probably wasn't even any money involved. You really do love helping people. And it's so amazing, your heart, Debbie.
Well, God's glad you noticed. Thank you.
You do this for a living, but what I'm saying is that not everything is based with you on the all dollar sign.
Oh gosh, no. Years ago, I took sales training, and one of the big principles was unpaid consulting. So if he knew how much unpaid consulting I did, he would just wring his hands and say, because it's not about that. It's about, are you feeling better? Do you have a plan when you walk away from our conversation? Can you see a path forward? Have you made, you and Sophia have, but have you made provisions to somebody to take care of the cats if something happens to the two of you, even temporarily, even to just go into the house if you guys go away on vacation? Have you made plans? So yeah. Yeah. And if you walk away with a plan, it doesn't matter if you execute it with me. It matters that you execute it. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
We talk about people passing, but what happens if a person does not plan for the possibility of becoming incapacitated?
Well, sometimes it's not possible to plan because it happens so suddenly. And they're young. They're potentially stuck in a quagmire that they might have been able to avoid. Again, right now, these documents that I redid, there's no telling when this gentleman will come out of the rehab facility. He's fighting to come out. The rehab facilities are overwhelmed. So his wife seems to think they're keeping him over medicated. Like, who knows? I mean, I have no idea. And I talked to her, I said, I think they have substantial assets. I don't know what that means. I mean, I really don't know what that means, but maybe several $100,000, including their property. I said, we might want to talk about, do we need to do some kind of Medicaid planning so that you can be prepared if he has to, so you don't have to lose everything for him to be in a facility, in a residence where he's well taken care of. I think the thing to be aware of is, as you get older, reach your 60s or 70s, maybe, is to find somebody who does some work with like elder law and have a pre-conversation in the event that you need it. So they can talk to you about what can you do if the time comes where, so something happens to you, Steve, and Sophia's, scared of losing the house and, whatever. It's having the conversation to reassure her that in Florida anyway, in terms of government benefits, homesteads are protected, as is one car. People who are community spouses also have protection from losing all of their income or having to get rid of all of their money. And it's probably worth a conversation with somebody to give you a foundation. So in the event something happens, you already have a starting point. Now, it doesn't mean if you and Sophia had a conversation today, the law wouldn't change substantially by the time you needed something, but still you'd have some basic idea. Oh, we know we can do this. We know we can do this. We know we can do this. So one or the other of us will be protected. And as I meet, it's not even about my getting older in the world of the real world. It's a matter of, as I meet people who are in their 60s and 70s, and like this friend of mine who's come up against this with her husband, it's like, this could be a really valuable conversation just for foundational education that you're not trying to take in when you're already freaked out, panicked, and overwhelmed. Because Sophia's overwhelmed by taking care of you. And the last thing she wants to think about is, how do I protect my house?
Right.
Or she doesn't want to feel selfish by thinking, my gosh, Steve's sick or whatever, and I'm worried about my house. It's like, let's take care of that before the fact. So,
well, I went off on some different areas today. I'm not going to apologize for it. I think I want people to know who you are, how talented you are, what a good person you are. Debbie is with us the last Monday at 9:00 every month. She'll be back again with us next month. I have so many questions that I didn't get to, so I'll have them for next time.
Oh, good. I'm going to hold Debbie, you to that.
Give everybody your phone number and your website.
Yeah. And I'm looking at my dark background. I have to work on that. Anyway, My phone number is 813-586-1332, 813-586-1332. I really do return all my phone calls by the end of the next business day. So if I don't call you back, you can call me again and say, where are you? The website is London Baker Law, spelled correctly. London, like the city, londonbakerlaw.com. People drop out the law for some reason and then wonder why they can't reach me. And the email is debbaker@londonbakerlaw.com. Really, if you live outside of the state of Florida, you know people outside of the state of Florida. I'm only licensed in Florida, but I'll talk to anybody to give them a general background of questions they could ask somebody in their state or in their locale. Well, it makes them look intelligent, but also because then they'll have a better foundation rather than going in and saying I know nothing. So yeah, I mean, I do it all to be of service, and I love doing it. And I love being here with you every month.
I love our show. I always look forward to it. Debbie, have a blessed week. We love you. You're always in our prayers, and we'll see you again next month.
Okay. Thanks, kiddos. Bye, Rebel. See ya.
That's the wonderful attorney, Debbie Baker. We're going to go to a short break. I'll be right back with you.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.